So hey y'all, I'm back with another video. So tonight's video is yet again another Chioma Chats video podcast edition. So by the title, we're going to be doing random opinions about random things. So first, I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas if you celebrate. I hope it was filled with love and joy. I recently was in Phoenix, Arizona for the last week, so I'm just kind of recovering from my trip. I've been traveling a lot. I plan to be in Miami next week and potentially Houston afterwards. So I've just been out here. I know y'all haven't seen me or heard from me, but I really just need the break like I've been telling y'all for the last few months. I just haven't been mentally myself, which I'm sure a lot of y'all can tell. So I've just been trying to find things to kind of soothe that, and traveling has definitely been helping. So like I said, we are doing random opinions, and like I always have to say this disclaimer, these are opinions, they are not facts. None of this stuff has to be true. These are just my thoughts. So I'm just giving y'all a forewarning before somebody gets mad. This one is really about a lot of your faves, so yeah, let's just get into it. Make sure you guys comment down below on one or all of them. Y'all know I try to read all of the comments, and without further ado, let's get right into this video. So my first opinion is brands do not have an obligation to cater to everybody. I think because we're in this era of diversity and inclusion, there's been some performative ways of trying to please everyone, and that isn't necessarily necessary and sometimes not genuine. Now, I am pro diversity and inclusion, but I think if a brand traditionally doesn't cater to certain demographics, they kind of have a right to maintain whichever standards they originally set. For example, I run a modeling agency, and if you haven't already, please follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. It's a model branding and develop agency for beginner models looking to get content for their portfolios and learn the basics. If I wanted to have all models be at least 5'8" and size 0 to 6, I could and have that right. Now, I don't have any height or weight requirements in my agency, but I do have certain standards such as you must be 18 plus, you must be a high school graduate, you must be currently employed, and you must have an attractive look. And attractive is subjective and can be considered wrong, but as a business, you do not have to include everyone if you have a vision for your brand. In the past, people have said that I don't have as many dark-skinned models and that my agency should only be for dark-skinned models. And to be honest, I think that is actually stupid. As much as I would support that, and you all have the right to make your own agency that way, and I will support it, I'm not going to not take other shades of Black women just to suit a smaller demographic. I would be cutting myself out of money and even cutting myself out of the diversity that I want my agency to offer. It's a program for inner city women between the ages of 18 and let's just say early 30s, and I actually do have a very good range of models if you ask me, but I don't recruit and the models have to audition, so I can only work with the people who show up and have the basic requirements. But if I wanted to have a specific shade range be represented by me, I can do that. I have the right to do that, but I also have the right to not do it. Just to include a bigger example, Victoria's Secret has really changed over the years. I think the whole diversity and inclusion movement has pressured Victoria's Secret to leave their traditional brand look and adapt a more modern vision, which didn't and doesn't historically reflect how they've operated. And I've talked about this in the past, but I don't think Victoria's Secret was obligated to cater to every type of woman there is, because that's not what their brand was originally meant for. I think a lot of people complain that these companies don't cater to them when they could either go to the companies that do or create their own. And that's the thing, a lot of people complain but never do anything about it. I felt like there needed to be an agency that represented inner city women of color in the city that I was in, because the only two modeling agencies that were prominent were very white, and they would cast everyone as a Black model even if they barely looked Black. And some of my models who started off in those agencies would tell me this and say that they're super appreciative that they feel welcome and comfortable in an environment where their skin color isn't used as the way to differentiate themselves from opportunities, connections, and so forth. So yes, I have biracial girls in my agency, but over 95% of the girls in my agency are Black. They're not all dark skinned, they're not all light skinned, they're not all brown skinned, but the majority of them are Black women because that's what my business is set to represent. Not gonna lie, I've had some white girls reach out and they're welcome to apply, but I know my vision and I don't stray that much away from it. Now, when it comes to things like makeup, I do think it's fair to pressure these companies to be inclusive because these are products that people use to reflect the brand's goal of looking attractive or beautiful. And I think it's kind of easier when you're dealing with something like a beauty product versus a person. Like, let's not forget that Kylie Cosmetics didn't originally have that many shade ranges for darker skinned women until Rihanna did it with Fenty Beauty. But I also feel like go where you are celebrated. There's instances where you should request to sit at the table, and there's instances where you should create your own table. The good thing about demanding or just advocating for diversity in the beauty industry is that it has sparked a lot of different brands to be created solely for women of color to be represented. All in all, I think if you have a brand and you have a certain look for your brand, stick to it. People have told me all the time what I need to do to change my brand, and I'm still here. And I'm still Queen Chioma because I stuck to myself and who I am. Definitely listen and take tidbits because some people do have great great intentions, but you don't have to alter your brand to appeal to certain demographics if you don't want to. My next opinion is Hal Bailey and DDG are one and the same. There was a recent clip of her and him making gingerbread houses for Christmas, and she obviously and noticeably did not have a belly. Now, there's been so much speculation about the girl being pregnant. She's never announced it, but there were obvious signs of it, as well as pictures of her with a blatant pregnancy stomach. Now, I've known who DDG was since 2015. I don't know if I've ever said this on YouTube, but he actually used to go to Central Michigan University, and I went to the University of Toledo, which is within the same conference, like literally probably an hour or two away from each other. And he was actually roommates with one of my closest cousins. Like, my cousin knows exactly who this guy is. And my cousin has never spoke bad about him, but I'm just saying, like, back during our freshman year of college, he was just a regular guy who started doing YouTube around the same time that I did. Of course, he went super viral, but I do remember watching him when he was just making general 2015 content. And what I think actually put him on was when he was going to Miami spring break back then and doing public interviews, and that was still very new. So people were literally saying the craziest things while on spring break in South Beach, Miami, and those videos would get like millions of views back then. I just remember that was the first time I really saw who he was, and then my cousin told me that his roommate did YouTube and blah 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 blah. But I'm not mad at Hallie for not announcing her pregnancy. That's if she ever was pregnant. I just think that she played into the hype of it the same way DDG would. Like, you know how some girls date a guy, and I'll be real, I do this too sometimes. I know, where you kind of start adapting to some of his ways because you're around him so much. So I feel like that's how she became, because it's giving very much YouTuber energy, you know, and I'm a YouTuber, but it's giving YouTuber energy. I think he emphasized to her the benefit of milking the anticipation for a pregnancy announcement, but I also do think it was her choice to be private about it, because the internet is nasty and her being pregnant by him is very off-brand for her. Either way, I think they're actually pretty similar. For some reason, DDG is always in my Snapchat feed, so I catch their content a lot, and they seem to be in a loving relationship, but I do think that they are one and the same. My next opinion is I do not believe that Simone Biles' husband, Jonathan Owens, did not know who she was prior to getting with her. I think that's nonsense, because even if you didn't initially know that she's one of the biggest stars in gymnastics worldwide, as soon as you searched her, you would have known how decorated she is. So with the recent interview of them getting asked how did they meet, saying that he thought that he was the prize, and her seemingly being giddy about driving 45 minutes to meet him, I think he's trying to save face because he knows that he's the lesser known individual in the relationship, and I think he thinks he's entitled to more popularity than what he had prior to her and what he has now. Like, let's be real, he's known as Simone Biles' husband. I don't really think of him as Jonathan Owens, and it's not like he's an NFL player with a household name such as Odell Beckham Jr. or Lamar Jackson or Tom Brady or Jalen Hurts. And shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles on our win, but my guy, you are not him, okay? So nobody would actually know who that is if he wasn't married to Simone. And I think that's where a lot of people's pushback came from, because it's like, okay, you can feel as though you're the prize and you have qualities that make you a catch, but to seemingly be delusional about the current state of your relationship as it relates to the public, I understand the be for real approach that people have told him to take.
Simone Biles' husband is a walking red flag.
I always say we the men the catch, man. I always say we the catch, man.
Yeah, so she really booked you.
She did, though.
Is what you're saying.
Cause I was fighting it. I was fighting it.
This man got into a relationship with Simone Biles, and he's acting like she's the one who should be lucky.
How in the hell did you pull Simone Biles? How did you do that, bro?
Man, it's really how she pulled me, man. That's the question. He pops up, and I'm like, let me see who this is. Gymnastics, I ain't never, I never really paid attention to gymnastics, so I didn't know who she was at the time, but like the first thing that I saw was that she just had a bunch of followers. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, she gotta be good. I promise you, I'm a real life story. When she won the Olympics, I was in college, and we didn't have NBC, we didn't have Olympic channels, and
I just don't believe that he didn't know who Simone Biles was. Like, think that he has a little bit of jealousy towards his wife. Listen to this.
It was all these moms, and they're there with their kids, and we walked past, and everybody stopped, and just kids are like shaking, and it's like, oh my God, and I'm like,
you thought it's because you thought you were fine,
man, nah. That's just funny. They asking me, they like, here, can you take this picture? And I'm like,
he centered so much of their love story around the fact that she chased him.
Because if she wouldn't have messaged me, chances are, like, I probably wouldn't have. I probably was just, mine would have went somewhere else and wouldn't have thought to, But she messaged me, and
now when it comes to how people reacted to Simone, I feel like I get it, and I do think it's worth noting that, okay sis, you can't be oblivious to the fact that there's an aspect of your husband either finding you attractive because of your physical attraction and then some, and then maybe the desperate approach to y'all's relationship. But I do think that a lot of times when women show interest in men, it's shunned upon. And I think if his reaction was different, no one would be batting an eye about her kind of initiating their relationship from what it seemed in the interview. And no one would be that hard on her because of her decision to stand firmly in what she has done. I also feel like if he looked different, like if he wasn't such a pretty boy, no one would be that mad at her. Like I saw a tweet on Twitter and I think it was actually fact. Someone said, Glorilla told y'all not to call her sis because she will literally F your man, and y'all ate it up. But Simone's the Pikme. Y'all did the same stuff to Ashanti. Y'all stay trying to embarrass women and pick them apart behind the guise of being concerned. But if it was genuine like y'all claim, the same rules would apply to everybody. Y'all are real selective when it comes to these kinds of conversations. It's starting to become a trend. Now, I'm not saying the reaction to Simone's husband isn't warranted, but I don't see y'all rallying around Simone like y'all do a lot of other women who I believe have shown y'all far worse pick-me tendencies. Is it pity? Is it shame? Or is it bitterness? Because the way y'all throw out that word pick me, it be low-key given that sometimes. Can't lie. And I do think that this is also fair. The reaction that Simone Biles gets for a lot is very harsh. Like in comparison to other black women in the media that aren't as talented or don't have the same brand connotation as Simone Biles, the internet is excessively hard on her. I've seen a lot of think pieces about how people think Simone Biles' husband doesn't actually like her or maybe isn't attracted to her. And I can't confirm or deny that because I don't think he said or did anything that shows that. I think what it is that he feels entitled to her relevance, and that's why he said what he said. He also talked about how in the NFL he felt like he wasn't getting the respect that he deserves, and that could come from a lot of things like playing time, a certain contract, or where you fall in the depth chart, and he felt like he was either better than his situation at his place of work, and I think that's where it comes from.
Simone Biles' husband is going super viral right now for saying that he is the catch in their relationship, and the reason this is so funny is because bro is literally known as Simone Biles' husband. But if you didn't know, he is also this dude, number 34, the guy who had the perfect angle to make a tackle and looked like my grandmother out there getting absolutely cooked for a touchdown against the Chargers. Chris Godwin had 155 yards against the Packers thanks to number 34 who was trying to tackle his own teammates. And on this play, you can see him standing completely still in the end zone while the receiver scores a touchdown right next to him. Sometimes you literally need a graph to show how bad his coverage is because he was one-on-one here and just tracked the route number 34 takes on this play since it is actually unbelievably bad. Basically, he's a terrible NFL safety compared to Simone Biles, who is the greatest women's gymnast in history. But the funniest part is that they met on a dating app, which means if I had just downloaded Hinge, I could have had Simone Biles. While number 34 claims to not have known who she was before they started seeing each other when bro was tweeting about Gabby Douglas during the summer of 2012.
It's the gender norms clashing with the reality of their situation. As the man, the head of household, and the enforcer of patriarchy, which isn't always bad, but I do see why we call it out, he feels that he should be the prize. He should be the catch. He should be the breadwinner. He should be the one with the focus. Because when you look at NFL players, a lot of times we don't know their wives or girlfriends unless they are also celebrities prior to getting with their NFL boyfriends or husbands. Most of the wives and girlfriends, which are referred to as WAGs, are either girls they've been with since college, or maybe Instagram models, or just random girls that end up meeting them. Like, I worked in college sports, so I feel like the majority of the relationships are either college relationships or just women you meet out and about. Very seldom do they have a globally known celebrity wife or girlfriend. There's probably only a few within the NFL, like Russell Wilson and Ciara, and then I guess Tom Brady and his ex-wife Giselle, who was a supermodel. So if you ask me, because a lot of people did ask my opinion on this, it's not about him being sassy or not having respect for her. I think it's a clash of the traditional patriarchy that a lot of men in these high-earning positions want to have. Simone is the breadwinner. Simone is the more famous person. Simone is the reason why he's even relevant to us. And I think he knows that, which is why he tried to present himself as more than what the average person would know him to be. He felt like he was the prize because he's in the NFL, but I'll be real, being an NFL player does not mean that you are really top dog. Again, I worked in college sports and my school was a Division I school. I didn't go to no Alabama or LSU or Ohio State, but I understand that making it to the NFL is just like part of it. But staying in the NFL and having a huge contract and financial longevity is even harder. So for the most part, if you don't know the name of an NFL player, I'm not saying that he's broke. A lot of these guys have great $1 million contracts, but if you truly are someone who doesn't play that much, maybe you're third string, or maybe you're on the practice team, or maybe you're on the reserve list for any reason, chances are you're just a regular guy in the NFL with a little bit more money than the average person. So I'm not saying this to down talk him, I'm saying this as a reality, because I saw her response and I was like, okay, she gonna stick beside him. But at the same time, I do think it's fair that the public pointed out that that was very much of a red flag, and the issue to me is not about her doing too much. The issue to me seems more about how he views himself versus the reality of their relationship. However, we're only looking at it for what's on the outside, so I hope that this was just the internet doing too much and that they can move forward. My next opinion kind of stems off the last one, and it is the phrase "pick me" was the worst phrase that women came up with within recent times. It is so misused and literally the most used by actual pick-me's. It's actually disgusting. I'm no longer offended to be called a pick-me because I think what pick-me represents is the following: a woman who uses logic and rhetoric to make common sense distinctions about women's choices that go against the careless narrative of women's sexuality, decision-making, and interpersonal relationships with both men and women. That is my definition of what a pick-me should actually be. But see, if you say anything that isn't allowing or agreeing with women doing something scandalous or over the top or just simply normal for 2023 vibes, you really get called a pick-me. And people have demonized this phrase and altered its true meaning, and I don't think there should be a word for women who hold other women accountable for their BS. Like, pick-me to me is synonymous with how a lot of women have collectively decided to call men sassy, and in a lot of cases I can agree with the somewhat feminine ways of this era of men because I do see it. Like, don't get me wrong, I do see it. But to use the word to put down a woman for, in most cases, having a certain standard or just not agreeing with something that another woman did, it's ridiculous. It has shifted from a word that is supposed to represent women who have this autonomy for identifying with the male gaze and male interest, but it's really the women who do things for the male gaze and the male mindset that use the word to attack other women. Like, for example, if I sit here and say that I don't agree with idolizing rapper baby mamas because all they do is twerk, be half naked, wear a whole bunch of wigs and makeup, and don't really put out anything substantial, which I don't necessarily agree with all of that, I'm just making an example, and then I get called a pick-me for saying that, the gag is a lot of men prefer what those women are actually doing. Now, I'm not saying these guys are stand-up guys or A+ guys or another phrase, high-value men, but I'm saying that a lot of these girls are getting picked. Like, the same girls who are wearing next to nothing on social media for 200 likes and small city clout literally play into the same mindset that a lot of men actually patronize and actually have an affinity for. So who is really the pick-me? Like, when people call me a pick-me in my comments, you're only doing that because you assume that my mindset is to be in support of men, but F an acre and his patchy bird chest, like, for real. Usually it's because I simply just don't agree with what that woman is doing or what this woman has said or the mindset amongst women, because in a lot of cases it actually is a detriment to me as a woman than it is a benefit to a man. I feel like if your whole idea of using the word pick-me is to associate someone's thoughts or statements with being in support of a man, then you truly are a pick-me, because you're not actually looking at said person's thoughts and words as supporting context to whatever the issue at hand is. You're automatically generalizing it back to a man. So who is really the pick-me? Yeah, I think people need to think about how they use that phrase because it's so out of context these days, and it's used as the last resort to tell another woman that you think that she's anti-woman and pro-men. A lot of these so-called pick-me's are not anti-women. They are anti the side effects and the after effects and the repercussions for the decisions that have been normalized for women that don't serve a benefit to women as a whole. But I guess some people just aren't smart enough to see that. My next opinion is you can definitely achieve a lot of fitness goals naturally through the gym. And I don't think genetics means that you can't look a certain way. I just think it means it will take longer or be a little bit more difficult to achieve such a goal. So I guess I'll use myself for an example. I've been in the gym religiously for the past month and a half. Like, this is probably the most consistent I've been. I'm usually very active. I go to the gym a lot, but I've been going like 5 times a week for the last month and a half. And just the little changes that I've seen in myself are so motivating to continue and really sculpt my body into a whole different me. And I don't follow that many fitness influencers because I feel like everyone's journey is their own, but I do follow a few, and I do watch a lot of fitness content on TikTok and Instagram. And when you see those transformation videos of the girl who barely had a booty and now she's super glued up, there's always a comment of, oh, genetics is the reason why she looks like that, or my genetics restrict me from ever looking like this. And yes, genetics does play a role with your fat deposition or your muscle mass or whatever, but I don't think that means that you can never get the look that you want. It just simply means it's gonna take a lot more effort and take a little bit longer. I literally was built like an up and down blueberry pixie stick for most of my life. I never had hips. I had like a little bubble butt most of my life, but not like the booty that I have now. And I do think age, puberty, and diet did help, but just the changes I've seen from going to the gym consistently for almost 2 months, you can really transform yourself if you really wanted to. I think a lot of people have put it in their head that if they don't have certain genetics, that surgical enhancements such as a BBL or fat transfer or lipo, that's the only route for them. But I'm sorry to tell you, but that is the lazy route of it all. And I do think that when you get these enhancements, yes, there's a lot of work to do to prepare, as well as the aftercare is very taxing. But let's be real, if it takes 6 months to recover from a BBL or something similar, within that 6 months, you would have made a lot of progress consistently going to the gym. So I have to call it what it is, which is laziness. And it's not the type of laziness where I'm mad at you, but I do think it's just a choice to not do it in a healthy way or in a way that will get you the same results, if not better. The whole BBL outlook is kind of dwindling. A lot of people are going back to like the slim thick look, which I guess my body type is back in. You know, it changes every 5 years, if not less. And I find it to be crazy that people are so quick to say that they can't achieve the body that they want in the gym. I've seen so much motivational fitness content of people transforming their lives and their bodies because they've put in the work and they've really wanted to. And I'm not here to tell you to go get a Planet Fitness membership for the new year, but I truly don't think that genetics is the only factor as to why you may not look how you want. A lot of it comes down to diet. If I want to grow my butt as big as possible, but I'm not taking in enough protein and clean protein at that, then I'm doing myself a disservice. All that work in the gym is going nowhere, or it's just taking a lot longer to get to where I want. So I think people need to be honest and just say, hey, I'm too lazy to go work out, and that's why I either look the way that I do, or I went and paid for some type of body enhancement, because I do think as humans that are born with muscles and fat, and if you have the physical privilege to exercise, you can do a lot with the body that God gave you. My last opinion is Nicki Minaj and Cardi B don't have real beef. And by real beef, I mean they have beef, don't get me wrong, but it's not really a substantial beef to me. Their beef is fan contrived and social media made, and it has now resulted into a permanent and indefinite and indelible mark on their careers. When I think back to it, there is not a single situation that calls for them to have this much hatred amongst each other. Like, in all honesty, it seems like in the beginning things were going pretty well. They had a few pictures together. They did the Motorsport song as a collaboration between Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, and the Migos. And it's actually kind of sad that it resulted to what it is. I don't know. I am a Nicki Minaj music fan. I do think she is one of the best to ever do it in female rap, and I will always say that. However, when Cardi B stepped onto the scene, whether it was organic or inorganic, whether she writes or does not write, whether she's an industry plant or not, she did make an impact, whether that's good or bad. And I think that new impact, and then including the ever so talented Nicki Minaj, could have created a lot more positivity in female rap, and it didn't because of the fans. I'm not saying that they have to be best friends. I don't think anybody in this industry is truly friends unless you know that they're always together and work together, but most of this is just business if you ask me. But I don't get why their beef has really gone this far, and I may get called a Pikme for saying this, but I do feel like if they were men, the chances of resolving their issue would be higher. Not saying that they would resolve it, but I think it would have been higher. People say that Nicki liked to tweet about Cardi B's child or parenting. I never saw this. And then people say that Cardi B felt offended by Nicki when she had her Motorsport verse, and she said something about if Quavo the QB, then I'm Nick Lombardi. I don't know if Cardi felt like she was trying to stun her, but I don't take that as a dig. And again, that was one of the only collabs that they ever did. And I just think like at the end of the day, it was the fan bases that caused all of this. These parasocial relationships that people have with celebrities and musical icons is actually very toxic and very detrimental to the development of a lot of these people's reputations and personal lives. I truly don't think there's anything that substantial that fuels this beef other than the fans, and then the record and history of how much that has been said and done on both sides. And I'll say it, both of them to me are too old to have these issues so frequently. Not saying that they're old in a negative way, but I feel like if y'all don't like each other, don't troll one another. Don't sneak this. Don't stalk. Just let it be, because both women are doing their own thing in their own right, and it is what it is. Honestly, I will also say that I don't think Nicki Minaj and Latto had real beef. Most of why they don't like each other and won't ever get along is because of the aftermath of Latto putting out that recorded phone call conversation, which was dead wrong. But prior to that, what was the actual problem? People say that Nicki felt like Latto was just trying to use her, but I'm sorry, Latto has shown Nicki a lot of love since day one. She's a child star, so I remember watching Latto when I was in middle school on YouTube, and her taking after the likes of Nicki Minaj, and even when she was on the rap game, it was the same thing. So yeah, now they don't like each other because of the aftermath of the beef, but leading up to that, there was nothing. I don't care. There was nothing at all, at least not publicly. So I don't know how this all got misconstrued, but there's a lot of nonsense beefs in the female rap world that just need to go away. And if they aren't gonna go away, I feel like people should just let it rest. But the fans are are really the problem, and the fans are the ones that have hindered a lot of potential collaborations and even potential reconciliations. So that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know your commentary on my commentary down below. What do you think? What do you know? Let me know. If you haven't already, go stream my song Rich Auntie. It is out on all platforms. Can we get it to 10,000 views, please, y'all? Okay, just check the link down below. And lastly, do not forget to follow me on all of my social media networks, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye,
in the mail from my boys in Abuja. Thick, meaty, spicy, juicy, baby, call me Suya. I said 24/7, we stacking, racking. I'm a bad bitch, you fraction, lacking. Counting bread while he playing Madden. I'm in the building, bitch, what's happening? Queen Chama, pure satisfaction. I'm really a vet, these joints need practice. Running in circles around them, we laughing. QTM girls like camera.